one man, pay her $10 or something.
We'll see how that works out. What? Oh, there's the country looking at us. My next guest stars in her own hit CBS television series called, coincidentally, The Carol Burnett Show. She will be doing Plaza Suite in May in Los Angeles. People can actually see her in person that way. And at a time when the word sex symbol is overworked, it's a pleasure to introduce a woman to whom it really applies, the beautiful, luscious Carol Burnett. I'm on the wrong network.
It's so nice
it's so nice to meet you.
At
I was going to say the same.
You little Dickens.
Dickens, indeed. You know, we have never met.
No, we haven't.
And yet we have passed each other.
Ships that pass in the night.
That's right.
We have to stop meeting like this, Dick.
Well, I'll tell you what. I saw you in front of a theater one time. I don't know, just standing there.
In New York?
In New York. 5 years ago.
I was probably looking for a guy.
Well, that's funny, because I went past several times.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember a guy going by several times.
Was that you?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, you had that sort of low whistle,
Yeah,
and you...
yeah.
I heard a very peculiar thing about you, and I just like to check these things because they often turn out not to be right when I check them on the air, and that was that as a kid, you pretended to be twins. Is there anything to this, or is this...
Yeah.
How do you do that? That seems like a great idea.
Well, you were talking about play acting and everything, doing plays, and I grew up in Hollywood. I was born in Texas, but we grew up in Hollywood. And there were, a passel of kids in the neighborhood, and we used to play act, but we would go see a movie, and then we'd come home and play it and pretend it.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to make capes for me and my girlfriend out of pillowcases and dye them black, and we'd put on masks and go down and hang around the Bank of America looking for robbers, you know. But there was a boy, Asher Wachowski, who lived in our, hello Asher, who lived in our building, and I was about 9 or 10, I guess it was. And Asher used to sit in the lobby and read comic books all the time, and he wore glasses. And I lived in the apartment that was right off the lobby, so I thought, well, I'm gonna really fix Asher today. So I walked out and I said, Asher, I'm expecting my twin sister from Canada. Her name is Karen, and she'll be coming in shortly, so would you direct her to the apartment? I'm going to the store. And he said, oh yeah, okay, fine. So I left. Then I ran around the building and crawled into our window, changed clothes, got a suitcase, crawled out the window, ran back out and walked in. I said, hello, my name is Karen. Could you tell me where Carol Burnett lives? And he says, geez, right in there. And I knocked on the door, and my grandmother said, come in. And I said, hello, and I made all sorts of noises in the door. Then I changed clothes again as Carol, ran back out, and I said, has Karen come in? And he said, yes, she just went. Well, this went on for about 6 days. I was exhausted. But I think I fooled him, unless he was putting me on to see how long I could keep it up.
Do you mean until this moment Asher doesn't know that was a put on?
Actually, I'm triplets. Yes, I'm not me tonight. I want you to know that.
Well, I don't know. You could convince me of anything. You're one of those people who can do anything. You can convince me. Were you the funny kid in your neighborhood, though, Jen?
No, I was very, well, in the neighborhood, yeah, I guess so, because we, as I said, we used to go see movies, you know, at the Hitching Post Theater on Hollywood Boulevard and stay and see 14 Westerns and then all the Nyoka Queen of the Jungle serials and Flash Gordon and come home and do those. But in school, I was pretty quiet, and I was a good student. And so a lot of the kids that I grew up with and everything were kind of shocked when I went into show business. I was shocked, too. I never expected to.
You didn't?
No.
Did you have any goal that you thought of you were getting to? Did you really think of yourself as
I wanted to be an astronaut. But that was before that happened. I love Flash Gordon and all that, you know. Yeah. And then I thought I'd be a journalist. I wanted to be Brenda Starr and fall in love with a man with a patch over his eye. Yeah. and have stars in my eyes and a real pretty apartment, you know, and natural red hair.
Maybe during this evening with you and Lucille Ball, we can find out how people who have a daughter will know if that daughter is going to be a comedian or not.
I don't know how you can find out, but I'm willing to explore it.
All right.
All right.
All right. And we have a station break, and after it, we will begin. We were talking about how people know if they have a comedian in the family. Is there any sign of it in your own daughters?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know yet. The baby is 2.
Uh-huh.
She's potty trained, if that's funny. I don't know. They all kind of play act. The middle one, last week, we're doing some work in the house. She's 4. Told the plumber that, she said, hello, I'm Jody, and my mother is Juliet Prowse, and I'm married to Ray Charles.
Well, it looks like she has a start there.
Well, I thought, well, right on, baby. You know, if she thinks
Yeah.
I'm Juliet Prowse, well, maybe she needs glasses. I don't know. And the older one is interested, but I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Hard
She's
to tell at
7,
this
yeah.
age. What other odd things did you do as a kid, though, that might have indicated you were heading for show business?
Just that. I'd come home and play Nyoka, you know.
Yeah.
You remember?
No,
you
Queen of
remember
the Jungle.
Nyoka, Queen of
Yeah,
the Jungle?
I never played
Francis
her.
Gifford?
I preferred to play Jack Armstrong as a kid.
I
used to see
did him
in the
too.
series. Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. And Tarzan and Jane. I have a very pretty cousin, and we were the same age, and she's a beautiful blind girl. And we would play Tarzan and Jane, and guess who? And Nelson and Jeanette, and I'd be Nelson, and we'd just play act the whole thing, you know. And we had a hill we used to go up and play jungle on, and then we would mark it off where the quicksand was, and we'd have ropes, and then we'd swing over, and if you touched where that was marked off, you know, down in the quicksand, you died for that afternoon, you know.
That sounds good. I wish I'd known you as a
I had a
kid.
groovy childhood.
Yeah. You sound more fun than my little friends.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Maybe there's still time for us to put up a rope and some quicksand.
What are you doing later? It's okay.
That. Well, Lucy said she had a little theater. Did you get into your mother's clothing and dress up in costumes and?
No, that we didn't have that.
I read that you got into a closet and acted or something. What was this in an interview or that was?
Last week, wasn't it?
No,
Yeah, I'm a closet tap dancer.
oh, you are.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, as a kid, I can't move. I'm such a klutz. And,
you-
no.
I've seen her.
No, you had
Good
no.
dancer.
Our choreographer, Ernie Flatt, is a genius, and whenever it's time for me to do a step, somehow mysteriously I'm lifted by the board dancers, and then I land. You know, looks terrific. So when I was a kid, I wanted to dance. I really did, but I was this tall when I was 11, and. So I used to think I could dance, and I'd see a Fred Astaire movie or something, and I'd come home, and then we only had one room, and I'd start to tap, and then my grandmother, my mother, or my kid sister would come in. So I'd go in the closet and tap a lot.
What age were you when you came out of the
42.
closet?
I
and
was
40. Well, let me check a fact with you, too. Is it true that you had a sort of fairy godfather who's,
Yes.
not in the modern sense, but who got you into show business? You know what I mean? Now, they always refer to this benefactor of
Yes.
yours, and it's some kind of mysterious about it.
Well, it's not a very humorous story, but it's kind of nice. It's marvelous, actually. I was working as a box office cashier in Hollywood on weekends and going to UCLA, and I performed a scene from Annie Get Your Gun at a Party one night in San Diego for a class, and a gentleman came up with his wife, and he said, what do you want to do, you know, when you get out of school? And I said, I want to go to New York and become, go into musical comedy. And he said, well, why don't you go now? And, on 75 cents an hour, there was no way. And he said, no, I'll give you the money. And I thought, oh, what is this? And he said, no, I'm serious. You call me, I'll be out of town in a week, and I'll give you the money to go to New York. So I called him from school a week later, and he said, yeah, I'm in it. So I drove down to San Diego, and he's a wealthy millionaire, if that's redundant. And
It is.
yeah, and he said, well, what do you really want to go into show business? I said, yes, I'm very sincere about it. He said, all right. And he wrote out a check for $1,000. I'd never seen that many zeros in my life. And he said, now there are 3 stipulations. A, obviously, you must never reveal my name, because everybody in the world would be, asking for money. It's a loan. You must pay it back in 5 years.
You wanted you to be
with no
responsible.
interest. You know, but I want you to pay it back to feel that you are responsible for this, and you must go to New York, as you promised. And if you do make it, if you are successful in your chosen field, you must promise to help others out in show business. And
It's a true story.
yeah,
Isn't that something?
and so I came here and I moved into the rehearsal club, and I got my teeth fixed, so I didn't spend a hell of a lot on that. And I paid him back 5 years to the day, and I started a scholarship at a college in Boston for kids interested in the theater. And I saw him just last year for the first time. This was in 1952.
How'd he look?
He looks great. And we had lunch with him and his wife, and
Oh, for some reason I picture him as a very old man.
no.
not-
Well,
not-
he was 50 or 49 or 50 at the time, and evidently he'd helped other people out too, not just in show business, but he'd take somebody maybe to a gas station or a restaurant or something like that if he felt they were sincere.
So he's almost like that guy on the
The Millionaire.
I
I was just gonna
yeah.
say.
He's the thousandaire.
The thousandaire. Not as many as you. Yeah. Gee. Did you ever get the old? You said you were a little worried about him at first, because we all know
Yeah.
that there are dirty old men. Did you ever get chased around the office or the casting couch or whatever those things are that you supposedly have in show business?
No.
I'm too naive to know about those things. Not by him, of course, but by
no,
anyone.
No, Dick.
Never did?
No.
Well,
You want to go on to another question now?
no, I find that very odd. I mean, almost every
Well,
every,
look, you
every
walk
lady
by
in-
me on the street, and you never stop.
That's true. Well, that is strange, though. I mean, most everybody in show business is... Well, if you never have,
You're
Carol, I
hard.
guess...
I never got past the secretaries. You know, there was no way. And boy, if a secretary chased me around the desk, I'd be worried.
Yeah. But I think of you as very... I'm being completely honest now. Terribly attractive.
Oh my God.
Hey. True. I really do.
Would you like me to leave you two alone for a while? I could
But
just...
then I think of Lucie Arnaz as short, too, so you see that. Oh, I give with one hand and... Oh, wait, here's some advice on how to get rid of unpleasant household odors.
wonderful.
I'm sorry. Right now, we'll be right back.